I've been seeing more and more of this really, really dangerous mindset from people in my network. And I'm not talking about laziness. I'm not talking about negativity or procrastination. I'm actually not even talking about limiting beliefs, even though I know that that's a huge fucking problem too. I'm talking about this constant regurgitation of positive narratives whenever shit doesn't go your way. And then secretly you still don't feel good about it, but you're just framing it in a positive way. Like, for example, competitor steals your clients. Okay, well, at least I'm in the same room as some of these bigger guys. You have a record month and revenue drops by 50% the next month. And then you tell yourself, yeah, that's fine. That's just part of business. That's the ebbs and flows and the ups and downs. Or you post a piece of content that you believe in and it doesn't just get ignored. It gets fucking publicly shit on. Like, people are heavily criticizing you and you say, oh, good, that means I'm polarizing. A view is a view. I don't care what other people think. Bro, what if none of those views or reframes were helping you? What if you're just narrating positive reframes over insecurities instead of actually changing the root belief causing the insecurity that you're experiencing in the first place? Because the fact of the matter is, most of us, if you're an entrepreneur specifically, we are so good at storytelling. We do that through sales calls, through persuasion, through content, through psychological, warfare, and then we accidentally start using these same psychological tactics on ourselves. And that is a really fucking dangerous game because the story that we tell ourselves sounds smart. It sounds self-aware. It sounds emotionally mature. It sounds like we know exactly what we're talking about. But underneath it, we are still experiencing the same fear, the same addiction for external validation, the same lack of self-worth, the same lack of self-love. So let me tell you why I actually think this is so dangerous. Because a lot of us, again, specifically entrepreneurs, we genuinely believe we're doing inner work when we do things like this. Because we've read all these self-help books, right? Think and Grow Rich, maybe Reality Transurfing, Outsmarting Reality, Atomic Habits, 7 Habits of the Most Highly Successful People. All of this self-development goy slob bullshit, which are actually good, by the way. I don't want to say that these are bad books. But if we're being honest, most people are not applying these principles consistently enough to actually solve the root problem that they're experiencing or that they have. Instead, they're using pieces of these philosophies to emotionally regulate themselves every single time life throws a punch at them and hits them in the face, right? Because emotional regulation is not the same as subconscious change or repeated pattern behavior. Those are two fully separate things. Because if the underlying belief had been changed, why do you feel like you keep getting triggered by the same thing over and over, forcing you to use these reframes in the first place? I was literally talking to one of my clients the other day. He's a high ticket coach. He sells an $8,000 program. And for a period of time, there was a bunch of clients who went with his competitors rather than him. Like back to back to back to back to back. And that hit his self-worth hard, man. Like you wouldn't believe. And he started questioning himself and asking himself, do I actually know what I'm talking about? Am I even good enough for this space? Is my program even worth it for these people? And then eventually he reframed it in a way that was positive to him. Well, at least I'm in the same conversations as these huge players. At least I'm in the same rooms as these big players. At least I'm competing at this level. And I asked him really bluntly, really specifically, okay, cool. Do you actually believe what you just told me? Or is that just a story that you're telling yourself to make yourself feel better in light of the situation? And the answer was simple and obvious and almost rhetorical. It was just a story. And that's just my point. The reframe helped him survive this emotional charge that he was feeling temporarily, but it did not change the belief underneath it, which was, I require external validation in order to feel internally validated. And this is exactly where we become a danger to ourselves because we are so good at selling these narratives through sales, branding, content. What we do is we take pain and we mold it. We take pain and we mold it, assign meaning to it, create an emotional charge with momentum as a result of that pain, and then psychologically move somebody toward a buying decision as a result. We do it all the time. We do it every day. But somewhere along the way, a lot of us stop using storytelling in our best interest and as a communication and sales tool, and we start using it as an emotional protection mechanism. And neurologically, what we're doing there is we just make the pattern way worse, like 10 times worse. Because every single time we emotionally manage our life or our reaction without addressing the root belief, we reinforce the exact same loop that is keeping us stuck. So let's talk about the neuroscience behind why that happens, because I think a lot of us are logical and it's going to serve you guys to understand quite literally down to the neuron why this is happening. And I'm going to explain this in literally the simplest way possible that a 5-year-old could understand it. Your conscious mind, the part of you that's actively thinking, the prefrontal cortex takes care of your logic, the reasoning, the positive reframes that you're, giving to yourself. That's only about like 5% of your mind that's working regularly. So where's the other 95%? Well, that's the subconscious programming. That's your emotional reactions, your insecurities, your identity, the beliefs that you've been repeating for years, if not decades. And a lot of us massively underestimate how dominant this 95% is. And we actually fall into the fallacy of the illusion of choice. It's like, bro, trying to consciously reframe a deep subconscious belief is like showing up to a war in an empire with 5,000 soldiers. And you're trying to win that war against another empire defended by 95,000 soldiers sitting behind their castle walls. How naive of you to think that your small 5,000 man army is just going to walk right in there and take control overnight from these 95,000 people behind the castle walls. It's not going to fucking happen, because the subconscious mind in this other empire is rooted, like they're posted up. It's patterned. It's automated. It's being reinforced through years upon years upon years of repetition, repeated emotion, failure, validation, childhood experiences, literally everything that's ever happened to you. And then meanwhile, the army of the 5,000, your conscious mind is sitting there and trying to like take it over, and they go, no, guys, like we're going to be here now. We're abundant. I read all the books. I have an abundance mindset. Like, bro, shut the fuck up and start understanding what's going on to you. The subconscious beliefs that are dictating your shit are already firing well before you're ever reframing things in a positive way. That's why logically you know that one bad month doesn't really matter in business, but emotionally it still fucking makes you feel like shit. That's why you know that one negative comment that you get on your Instagram isn't really a big deal because it's just one person, but it still affects your nervous system and you still feel some type of way about it. It's because the subconscious response will always happen first, and then the reframe positively will come after. You're always going to be playing catch up. And let me explain where it gets even crazier, because I'm somebody that likes like the philosophy or like the logic behind everything. There's this concept in neuroscience called Hebbian learning. If you ever heard the sentence, neurons that fire together, wire together, that's what it is. Meaning every single time the same belief fires for you and you complete this same emotional loop that we've been talking about for the last, 7-8 minutes, you reinforce the pattern. And that's why some of you have been doing mindset work for fucking years, and yet you are still struggling with the same things and the same insecurities that keep showing up under pressure in business. Because you were never changing the root programming. You were never changing anything about yourself. You were just getting better at telling yourself a story. And the craziest part is you understand this dynamic literally better than anybody, especially if you're in sales, because you do this to your prospects every single day and every single week. Think about what happens on these sales calls. You get on a sales call and somebody says to you, or a prospect says to you, I'm going to talk to my wife first. And then you reframe it for them and you say, oh, have you ever heard the sentence, heavy is the head that wears the crown, which is a fucking garbage reframe, but nonetheless. And then another prospect might say, this is expensive. I didn't want to spend this much. And then you ask them, expensive compared to what? And then you reframe their understanding of the word expensive. And then another prospect might say, I just need to think about it. And you might say to them, would it be fair to say that the way that you've made decisions up until this point has actually gotten you to the exact position that you're in now, and that it might be smart to start making decisions in a different way if we want to actually get out of the box that we've placed ourselves in? And listen, a lot of the time, almost all the time, these reframes will work. Right? I'm not saying that they're not going to, because reframing quite literally creates a temporary emotional certainty. And as human beings, certainty is our favorite fucking thing. But let me ask you something super simple. As you're reframing someone, or reframing the way somebody is thinking about something on a sales call, does that fundamentally rewrite the way that they are at their core? Fuck no, you know that. You created enough emotional momentum for them to make a decision, but you did not magically erase years upon years, if not decades of programming. And that's what makes the whole thing so insane, because if you understand that reframing doesn't fundamentally change things for your prospects, why do you believe it fundamentally changes things for you? That's the question that nobody is asking themselves, because the exact same way you sell a prospect an empowering narrative is the exact same way you keep constantly selling yourself on an empowering narrative as well. And I'm not saying that your reframes are false, by the way. I'm just saying it's a band-aid and a short-term solution to a long-term problem. And what's the consequence of this long-term problem? Well, you never actually feel stable in business or in your life, because every single time life punches you in the face, you need another narrative to emotionally recover. So the same emotional patterns just keep repeating themselves no matter how high you get up in business or what level you get to in life. You have the more money, but you have the same insecurity. You feel more validated, but you have the same fears. And honestly, this is why right now, as you're watching this video in your life on a regular basis, you probably feel like you're emotionally exhausted all the time, because you're consciously trying to manage subconscious patterns in your life 24/7. And eventually your reframes will start to lose their effectiveness. And then one day in business, you might be running a Series A investment round. You might be walking into the biggest meeting for your business of your entire life, or the biggest opportunity that you've ever seen in your life. And instead of being fucking locked in, you completely crumble emotionally and you experience insane anxiety. You experience panic, you experience confusion, and you literally cannot explain why it's happening. You like full emotional shutdown, because you thought you had healed a pattern of maybe self-love, self-worth, external validation, whatever it may be, when you were really just narrating over the entire thing the entire time. And again, I want to be very clear and restate that I don't believe reframing is a useless tool. If something bad happens to you and reframing helps calm down your nervous system in the moment, that's great, because as business owners, we have to always be able to come back to net neutral in the same period of time or in the least quantity of time and with predictability. But the problem is when you start confusing emotional management with actual healing, because real inner work doesn't feel good at first. It feels uncomfortable as fuck. And so there's two things that I genuinely think a lot of you should do, and I encourage you to do wholeheartedly. I did all of this and it's changed my life for the better. Stop immediately trying to outsmart every emotional reaction you have. You're not smarter than your brain. You are your brain. You are your subconscious. Like if a competitor signs a client and you instantly jump to, oh, well, at least I'm in the same rooms as these big players. Bro, pause for literally a second, like 5 seconds, and ask yourself, okay, them not going with me, why did that actually hurt me? Like, what does that say about what I believe to be true about myself, the world, the universe? Like all these deep fucking questions that you probably never ask yourself. Don't give yourself the smart answer. Don't be a smart ass. Don't give yourself the self-aware answer. Give yourself the real answer. The real answer is the only thing that can actually create tangible change. Most of you guys are so fucking quick to reframe every insecurity you have that you never actually go ahead and investigate it in a way that is beneficial to you. Secondly, start identifying some patterns of behaviors. Because if completely different situations keep creating the exact same emotional reactions and patterns inside of you, it's typically not a problem of circumstance. It's a problem of subconscious beliefs that are creating these patterns. Because different circumstances are creating these same emotional reactions. That's like a dead giveaway. And the most dangerous part about all of this is if you don't become aware of this stuff right now or very soon, it will not just get up and walk away or change for you automatically. It'll follow you into every new level of business, every next step of life, more money, more pressure, more responsibility, and the same subconscious patterns dictating literally everything that's happening. And eventually, those patterns will cripple you at a stage in your life where you do not have the capacity or cannot afford to be emotionally crippled anymore. And that's the real danger that you're facing. Do you really want to be at the most important moment of your life and all of a sudden you shut down and you don't know why? And listen, this work is not quick and it surely ain't fucking easy. Like I said, it's uncomfortable as fuck. But what it is life changing. And I promise you will come out on the other side of it feeling more clear and more alive than you ever have in your entire life. So if you're tired of experiencing these same patterns and what I've described to you in detail throughout the video, and you genuinely want to understand how to remove them from your life permanently, become limitless, more confident, and just a high executing individual or business owner on a permanent basis, not like every single few weeks you kind of go back into this old version of yourself, then I highly encourage you to go into the description down below and book a time to speak with me one-to-one. It's literally just an introduction and it's free, so why the fuck not? And I'll help you identify everything I see holding you back, all of these different patterns, what your actual subconscious block is, and give you practical strategies to overcome these in a way that isn't just like another band-aid or temporary solution, and it sure as fuck isn't another book to read because you've read enough of them. It'll be something that actually serves you for the rest of your life, rather than something that you're not going to walk away with value from. Thank you for watching. If you like the content, feel free to check out my other videos and leave a comment down below, or feel free to check out my Instagram where I post a lot of stuff similar to this, just in obviously more consumable, shorter form. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless.